It started with rain. Not the light drizzle that whispers against your window, but a relentless, bone-rattling downpour. I'd been driving for 5 hours through winding mountain roads in West Virginia, trying to make it to a friend's cabin near Pinefield. Cell signal was dead. GPS lost its mind 2 hours ago. I had nothing but a half-charged phone, a thermos of cold coffee, and the sound of thunder stalking me. It was after midnight. The road was narrow, barely visible under the storm, and the woods on either side were so dense they swallowed my headlights. I almost didn't see him, just a figure at the edge of the road, standing in the storm like it wasn't even there. Drenched, still, arm out, thumb up, old jacket, torn jeans, and a backpack that looked more like a body bag. I passed him instinctively, but something in my gut twisted like a knife. I drove for 30 more seconds. Then I slowed. Stopped. Why did I stop? I still don't know. My fingers hovered over the lock button, debating my own sanity. But before I could make a choice, the passenger door creaked open. He was already there. The man didn't say a word. He climbed in like he belonged there. Like this wasn't his first time doing this exact thing. Water dripped from his clothes, pooling at his feet. The smell hit me next. Wet soil, mold, and something metallic. Not blood, but close.
Thanks for stopping,
He finally said, his voice low and rough, like broken glass under gravel. I didn't reply. I couldn't. He looked at me. Really looked. His hood was still up, but I could see part of his face in the lightning's brief flicker. A pale, gaunt face with deep-set eyes and a twisted smile that didn't reach them.
You're heading to Pinefield, right?
He asked. My heart stopped. I hadn't told anyone where I was going. Not on social media. Not on a call. Not in passing. The only person who knew was my friend Ben, and he was already at the cabin. I forced a swallow. Yeah, how did you know? He smiled wider. Just a guess. The next 10 miles were dead silent. The road grew thinner, more broken. Trees leaned in as if trying to block the car's path. Rain slammed the roof like angry fists. But inside the car, it was too quiet. The man didn't speak, didn't move, just stared straight ahead with the kind of stillness you only see in things that aren't alive anymore. I tried the radio. Static. I tried to make small talk. So, where you headed? He finally turned to me again.
Nowhere. I was waiting for you.
My skin went cold. A chill crawled up the back of my neck and settled between my shoulders. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, knuckles white, eyes forward. Excuse me. I said I was waiting for you. He repeated, slower this time. Took you long enough. I laughed nervously. You must be joking. No. I checked the clock. 12:47 a.m. We weren't far from the turn-off road leading to Ben's cabin, but everything in me screamed not to take him there. I didn't want this guy knowing where I was staying. Hell, I didn't want him knowing anything about me. And yet, he already did. You live in Richmond, right? He asked, voice casual like we were friends. My foot lifted off the gas without me realizing. You went to Westover High? Dropped out after junior year. Your mom died in a car accident. Your dad drank himself to death. You've been alone ever since. My mouth went dry. He didn't answer. Instead, he tilted his head slightly toward the passenger window, as if listening to something outside. Then he whispered, "We're almost there." I slammed the brakes. The car skidded to a halt, tires screeching on wet asphalt. "Get out," I said. He didn't move. Still motionless, he reached into his coat pocket. I reached for the tire iron under my seat, but he only pulled out something small and square. It looked like a photograph. He handed it to me. It was a picture of me, sleeping in my bed, taken from inside my house, taken from just a few feet away. I couldn't breathe. "I'll get out," he said softly, "but not yet. There's something I need you to see." The photo shook in my trembling fingers. I stared at it again, hoping it would change, hoping I'd imagined it. But it was still there. My face, caught in moonlight, mouth slightly open, blanket half off, eyes closed. taken from inside my room, from the foot of my bed. I locked my doors, I said, but the words didn't sound like mine. The man didn't respond. Instead, he just turned his head toward the passenger window again, as if something outside had his full attention. "We're almost there," he whispered. I looked at the road, twisting, black, and endless. My foot hovered above the gas, but I couldn't move. My mind was racing, trying to figure out how this man knew so much about me. How long had he been watching me? "I don't know who you are," I said, "or what you want, but you're getting out now." He turned back toward me, slowly, like a puppet being pulled by strings. I finally got a better look at his face. His skin wasn't pale. It was wrong, like wax that had been left too close to a fire. His cheekbones looked sharp, too sharp. His eyes, too dark, not just in color, but like they absorbed the light around them. "I told you," he said quietly. "I was waiting for you. And now that I've found you, we can go back." "Go back where?" But before he could answer, my headlights caught something ahead. A figure in the road. Another one. A woman this time, standing in the middle of the lane, arms down, head tilted. I hit the brakes again. She didn't move, just stood there. Her hair clung to her face, and her nightgown looked decades old. She raised one arm slowly, pointing to the trees on the left. The man next to me leaned closer to the windshield, almost reverent. "She's calling," he said. "You should listen." I was done. I threw the car in reverse, tires screaming as I backed away. I didn't care if I hit something. I just wanted out. I was ready to drive straight into a ditch if it meant leaving both of them behind. But when I looked back to the road, she was gone. Gone. Not moved. Not ran. Not ducked. Just vanished. I jerked the wheel and swerved back into drive. But the man placed a hand gently on my arm. It was cold. Unnaturally cold. "You keep ignoring the signs," he said. "You don't remember, do you?" "Remember what?" He smiled. "The cabin." My throat went dry. "What about the cabin?" He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled out something else from his coat pocket. It was a key. Long, iron, and old. Ancient. I swear it gave off a slight hum. "You locked it away." But not for long. He dropped the key onto my lap. That's when I noticed something impossible. The road ahead had changed. It wasn't the route to Ben's cabin anymore. I'd been on that road 10 times before, and this wasn't it. The trees were denser. The dirt was redder. The road looked older. "Where the hell are we?" I whispered. But deep down, I already knew. The man leaned back into his seat, closed his eyes. "Home," he said. And in the distance, beyond the fog, I saw something that made my skin crawl. A house. An old house I hadn't seen in over a decade. The house from my childhood. The one I swore never existed. I couldn't breathe. The closer we got to the house, the more wrong everything felt. The trees leaned in. The rain didn't fall naturally. It slid in sheets, as though it were being poured by someone above. And that house. I recognized every rotted board, every cracked window, even the dead swing hanging from the side porch. I'd never been there before, but I knew it. My hands gripped the wheel tighter. "I'm not going in there." The man beside me smiled again. "You already did." The headlights flickered as I pulled into the muddy path leading to the porch. I didn't remember turning the wheel. My body was moving on its own. The key on my lap buzzed. I picked it up. The iron burned my palm, not from heat, but from something colder, deeper, like it knew me. The man opened his door and stepped out into the rain. I didn't want to follow, but I did. Each step toward the porch was like dragging my legs through molasses. The wooden planks groaned under our weight. The front door was swollen from moisture, but the moment I touched the key to it, it clicked open by itself. Inside was the smell. Rot, mold, damp wood, and something else familiar. The walls were covered in peeling wallpaper, smeared with long, dark streaks. The air was thick. I could barely see 10 feet ahead, even with the flashlight from my phone. "Why are we here?" I whispered. The man didn't answer. Instead, he walked into a side room. The kitchen, I think. I turned to follow and stopped cold. There were photos pinned to the wall of me at school, at work, sleeping, laughing, crying, and one from when I was 7. My childhood face, smiling, mud smeared on my cheeks, standing in front of this very house. My head began to pound. The memories came in flashes. Not words, just images. A box in the floor. A woman crying in the attic. Scratches under my bed. My hands, covered in dirt. A door I was never supposed to open. The man appeared behind me again. You remember now. No, this is a dream. You came here before. With your brother. I don't have a brother. He tilted his head. You did. Something in me cracked. I ran. Through the hallway. Past the dusty mirrors. Down the basement steps. It was darker there. Colder. Wet earth underfoot. I slipped and fell. My phone's light flickered, and then I saw it. The box. Half buried in the dirt. Wooden. Locked. And on the lid, my initials carved in, along with a child's messy drawing of 2 stick figures holding hands. I reached for the key, but before I could touch the box, something else touched me. Fingers, long, wet, and cold, grabbing my ankle from beneath the dirt. I screamed and kicked, scrambling back. A face surfaced, not fully human, half-rotted. The skin slid when it moved. One cloudy eye stared at me while the other bled black. It whispered a name. Danny. My brother. I fell against the wall, hyperventilating. The man walked calmly down the steps behind me. You left him here. No. He followed you. He begged you not to open the cellar. You did anyway. You let it out. And when it needed a price, he gave himself. I don't remember. Because you made yourself forget. And I was sent to remind you. He knelt beside the box and gently wiped the dirt from the lid. Inside the box, something moved. The man ran his fingers along the edges of the box, like he was brushing dust off a tombstone. He looked up at me.
Open it.
He said, No.
You have to.
I can't.
You already did. Once. This is just the remembering.
I backed away, heart pounding so loud I could barely hear the rain above anymore. Inside the box, something scraped, like nails on wood. The man reached into his coat and took out something wrapped in oilcloth. Slowly, he unwrapped it. A small stuffed animal. A fox. Its eyes were buttons, one missing. Its fur was matted, burned on one side. My breath caught in my throat. That was Danny's. He used to carry it everywhere. Images flooded back, faster now. I was 10. Danny was 6. We were in this house, playing in the cellar. I dared him to open the box we found hidden in the dirt. He hesitated. Then I opened it myself. The thing that came out wasn't a ghost. It wasn't a person. It was a wrongness. A shape with no face. A whisper with claws. It had no form, only need. It needed a memory. A home. It needed one of us. And Danny, he told it my name. But it took him. The man placed the fox on top of the box. Then he stood. You tried to bury it. To forget. But forgetting doesn't make it go away. I screamed. What do you want from me? The man's smile faded. I want you to take responsibility. The box lid creaked open by itself. Inside was a mirror. Just a mirror. But when I looked into it, I didn't see myself. I saw Danny. Pale. Lips blue. Eyes wide with betrayal. He reached out from the glass, touched the edge, and whispered something that shattered me. You let it live inside you. My mouth went dry. The man nodded. And I felt it then. The cold. The box was never the prison. I was the one who brought it back. Every nightmare. Every shadow I thought was nothing. Every intrusive thought. It had been growing inside me for years. Feeding. And now Danny wanted it back. The room shook. The walls bled. The ceiling cracked as black tendrils spilled from the mirror and wrapped around my chest. I tried to run, but you can't outrun yourself. The last thing I saw before the darkness took me was Danny's reflection pulling me into the glass, and the man watching quietly as the box slammed shut. They found my car 3 days later, abandoned on the side of a remote road. Headlights still on, door wide open. No sign of struggle, no body, just an old, water-damaged photograph on the passenger seat of 2 boys smiling. One of them had been torn from the image. I moved into the house on August 3rd, quiet neighborhood. Solid structure, old but charming. It had that creaky floorboard sound in the hallways, and dust in corners that never really leaves. But it was mine. The first time I heard the noise from the attic, it was just after midnight. I was lying in bed scrolling through my phone, half listening to a YouTube video, when I heard a creak above me. Slow, heavy, like someone walking. I paused the video, held my breath. Nothing. Probably raccoons, I mumbled. The realtor mentioned the attic needed sealing. I went back to my phone. The next night, I heard it again. Only this time, it didn't sound like walking. It sounded like dragging. Something heavy. I got up and walked into the hallway. The attic entrance was a square panel in the ceiling above the hallway closet. I stood under it, staring up into the black outline. Dead silence. Then, thud. I flinched. The sound came directly above me. I backed away slowly, my pulse thudding in my neck. I told myself again, it's probably an animal. But something felt off. Too deliberate. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I borrowed a ladder from my neighbor and climbed up into the attic. The hatch groaned as I pushed it open, and a wave of cold air spilled out, unusually cold for August. I climbed slowly, flashlight in hand. The attic was small, unfinished, full of spider webs and dust. There were a few old cardboard boxes pushed into the corners, and one thing that immediately made my stomach twist. Footprints. Not animal. Not raccoon. Bare human footprints, pressed into the dust, heading across the attic toward a corner, and then stopping. No return prints. Just ending. I stood frozen for a long minute. I wanted to believe they were old, maybe from the previous owner, but they were too clear, too recent. I followed the prints slowly, trying not to breathe. In the far corner of the attic, I found something else. A note, folded and wedged under a loose floorboard. I unfolded it, expecting a shopping list or random scribble. Instead, it said, "Do not feed it. Do not speak to it. It knows your name now." I dropped the note like it had burned me. I didn't stay in the attic another second. The noises got worse over the next few nights. Always after midnight. Scraping, dragging, knocking. Not random knocks, patterns. Like someone tapping a rhythm, waiting for a response. I refused to go back up. I even called pest control. They went up there during the day, found nothing but empty boxes and dust. No animals. No signs of infestation. I didn't tell them about the footprints. Or the note. They wouldn't have believed me anyway. The next night, something changed. I was in the kitchen at 2:12 a.m., drinking water and trying not to panic, when I heard the sound again. This time, it wasn't in the attic. It was coming from inside the walls. Knock, knock, knock. Right next to my head. I pressed my ear to the drywall. My heart stopped. Breathing. Wet. Slow. Right on the other side. I backed away and nearly tripped over a chair. I was done. I was going to a motel. That's when I heard my voice. Not mine, exactly, but something trying to sound like me. From the hallway, it called out, "Hey, come check this out in the attic. You forgot to lock it again." The voice was flat, robotic, like a bad mimic. I stood frozen. The kitchen light flickered once. The attic panel creaked open. I didn't move. My breath caught in my chest. The voice came again. "Come on, just a quick look. Don't be scared." I turned slowly toward the hallway. The attic hatch was now wide open. A ladder had dropped down. I didn't put one there. Something was waiting in the shadows above, too dark to see clearly. But I swear I saw fingers curled around the edge of the opening. Wrong. I grabbed my keys, my phone, and ran out the front door barefoot. I didn't stop until I reached the 24-hour diner 3 blocks away. I sat at the counter, shaking, still in my pajamas. I didn't even order anything. At sunrise, I returned with a friend and asked him to come in with me. We searched the entire house. Attic too. Everything was normal, except the attic hatch was open and the footprints were gone. No note, no mimic voice, just silence. That day, I got serious. I installed motion sensor lights inside and outside, put up cameras, got new locks. I even sprinkled flour across the attic floor to catch any new footprints. I stayed at my friend's place that night. Next morning, I checked the footage. Every camera went static at exactly 2:17 a.m. for 6 full minutes. When the feed resumed, everything looked untouched, except the flour in the attic. It was disturbed, smeared, not like footsteps, more like something crawling, something with too many limbs. The worst part? In the center of the flour was a word scrawled in shaky handwriting. Downstairs. I wanted to burn the house down. I wanted to move, abandon it, disappear. But something kept me there. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was fear of losing everything I'd put into the place. Or maybe it was something else. A presence. It was in my dreams now. Every night, I stood in the attic. Alone. Cold. Staring at a trapdoor in the floorboards. That didn't exist in real life. In the dream, I opened it. A face looked back. Mine. Rotting. Smiling. I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating. I didn't tell anyone. I was afraid they'd think I was going insane. I thought maybe I was going insane. One night, I recorded myself sleeping. I woke up groggy, rewound the footage, and watched in absolute terror as, at exactly 2:17 a.m., I sat up in bed, eyes open, blank. I stood, walked to the hallway, climbed into the attic without a ladder. I crawled up there on all fours. Then nothing. The footage stopped for 5 minutes. Then I climbed back down and whispered to myself, almost ready. That day, I returned to the attic with a hammer. I ripped open floorboards, tore down insulation, smashed every inch. I found it. There was a trapdoor, underneath rotten boards in the far corner. Small, just big enough to fit a person through. I pried it open. A hole stared back, 10 feet down, an old bricked-up space. Maybe part of the original foundation. There was something at the bottom. A figure, hunched, thin, twisted. It looked up at me slowly, and in my exact voice, it said, "Finally, you remember." I fell back, hit my head, scrambled out of the attic, and locked the hatch. Then I heard it whisper through the walls for the first time, clear as day. "Let me out, and I'll give him back." I broke. I screamed. I wept. I begged it to stop. I don't know who him is. A brother? A version of me? Someone it already took? The voice changed that night. It used other names. Familiar names. My mother's voice. My ex-girlfriend's laughter. A childhood friend I hadn't seen in years. It was all wrong. All bait. All manipulation. It wanted me to open the trapdoor again. And on the 7th night, I did. I climbed into the attic. Candle in one hand. Crowbar in the other. The air was ice. The trapdoor was already open. It waited for me. A mirror version of myself, grinning up through the shadows. Its eyes were all black. Its skin pulsed like something beneath it was alive. I whispered, "What are you?" It replied, "I am what you buried. What your bloodline promised me." Then it told me the truth. About the house. About my family. About how, generations ago, my great-great-grandfather sealed it here as part of a bargain. And now, I had broken the seal. It could walk again, if I let it out. If I welcomed it. "You are the vessel now," it whispered. "Say my name, and become whole." I backed away. It screamed. The house groaned. Cracks split across the ceiling. Shadows poured like smoke from the hole. I jumped down the ladder and lit the attic floor on fire. The flames took fast, unnaturally fast. As I stumbled out of the house, I heard it howl inside my skull. This is not over. You still dream. And in dreams, I walk free. The house burned to the ground. No remains. No proof. Just me and nightmares. Every night at 2:17 a.m., I hear a knock. In my dreams. From the attic that no longer exists. And sometimes, I answer it. It was 2:17 a.m., and the rain had come out of nowhere. One moment, I was cruising along the highway, heading home from a week-long work trip in the city. The next, the storm hit, an unforgiving torrent that slammed against my windshield. My name's Tom Parker, and this was supposed to be a quick drive back to my apartment in the small town of Millridge Hollow. The last stretch of road was always the worst. A series of winding country lanes that seemed to go on forever. I'd taken the same route hundreds of times, but tonight felt different. The rain was relentless, like the sky itself was angry, blotting out any semblance of light with its thick, gray blanket. I couldn't see more than a few feet in front of me, my headlights barely piercing the night. I'd had enough of the congested highways, so I decided to take a shortcut. I've done it before, and I knew these roads like the back of my hand. At least, I thought I did. As I drove deeper into the countryside, the roads grew narrower, more isolated. The trees on either side seemed to crowd in on me, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. My tires hissed against the wet asphalt, and the sound of rain pounding on the roof was almost hypnotic. I glanced at the clock again. 2:17 a.m. I shook my head. I should have taken the longer route, but now it was too late. I pressed on. After what felt like an eternity, I saw something up ahead, just barely visible through the rain. A bridge. I didn't recognize it. It looked old, weathered, and eerie, like something straight out of a nightmare. The wooden planks creaked in the wind, and the whole structure seemed to sway slightly under the weight of the rain. I wasn't sure, but the bridge appeared almost abandoned. I slowed down as I approached, squinting through the windshield. Where was this? I couldn't remember ever seeing this bridge on any of my previous drives. There were no signs, no familiar markers. It was as though the bridge had appeared out of nowhere. I thought about turning around, but the thought of doubling back in the rain felt worse. The road ahead seemed to stretch on forever in the blackness, and I knew there would be no other way across. I decided to go for it. It's just a bridge, Tom. Just cross it and get home. I pulled the car onto the bridge, and immediately, something fell off. The road was slick with rain, the wooden planks creaking under my tires. It was an unnerving sound, like the bridge was groaning under the weight of my car. My headlights cast strange shadows, making the darkness ahead feel even more oppressive. The bridge seemed to stretch on forever. I was only halfway across when I heard it. At first, I thought it was just the wind, but then I realized it was something else. Voices. Faint whispers, as if someone was speaking just beyond my reach. My stomach tightened, a wave of unease washing over me. I looked around, trying to see through the rain, but there was nothing. No one. Just the endless stretch of the bridge and the storm. Hello. I called out, my voice shaking slightly. Is anyone there? The whispers grew louder, almost urgent. I thought I was hearing things, but there was no mistaking the sound now. Someone, or something, was on the bridge with me. I pressed my foot down on the gas, trying to get across the bridge faster, but the road seemed to elongate, the distance between me and the end growing longer with every passing second. My heart began to pound. Why was this bridge so damn long? The rain came down harder. My wipers struggled to keep up, and the headlights flickered. I felt a chill spread across my skin, an icy shiver running down my spine. Then, the whispers turned into something else, something clearer. A voice, deep and low, spoke my name.
Tom.
I froze. How the hell did it know my name? No one was supposed to be out here, let alone on the bridge. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and my pulse quickened. I slammed the accelerator, desperate to get to the other side. I couldn't go back now, not with whatever this was following me. But no matter how fast I went, the bridge seemed to stretch on, the end never in sight. Then I saw it, a figure, standing at the edge of the bridge, just beyond the reach of my headlights. At first, I thought it was a trick of the rain, the way the shadows played in the dark. But no, the figure was real. A man, tall and gaunt, wearing a wide-brimmed hat that obscured most of his face. He was walking toward me. No, dragging himself toward me. His legs were stiff, jerking unnaturally with each step. His movements were slow, deliberate, and the closer he got, the more I could see how wrong they were. His limbs didn't move like a person's should. It was as if his joints didn't work properly, like he was a marionette controlled by invisible strings. I slammed on the brakes, my car skidding to a stop on the bridge. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. I couldn't move. My body was frozen, my breath caught in my chest. The figure was getting closer. Slowly, the wet, heavy rain soaked his clothes, but he didn't seem to notice. His movements were unsettling, inhuman. Something about the way he was walking, no, dragging himself, felt wrong. My heart pounded harder in my chest. I tried to roll down the window, but it wouldn't budge. My hands were shaking too much. I needed to get out of here, but my legs wouldn't cooperate. I couldn't move. I was trapped. The figure stopped a few feet from my car, standing just outside my window. His breath fogged up the glass, and for a moment, I could see nothing but darkness beyond him. And then a knock. Soft. Slow. 3 knocks, each one echoing in the still night. The knock on the window was like a hammer to my chest. My heart raced, and I could barely breathe. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The figure stood motionless outside my car, his breath fogging the glass. I tried to shift the car into reverse, but my hands were shaking too violently. I slammed my foot down on the gas pedal, but nothing happened. The car wouldn't start. The engine sputtered, and then silence. The man outside leaned closer, his face still hidden by his hat, but something was wrong. His skin was pale, almost translucent, and his eyes, they were glowing. Not a natural glow, but something unnatural, something otherworldly. His mouth twitched, forming a grin that made my stomach churn.
Let me in, Tom.
The voice was soft, almost sweet, but it sent a chill down my spine. It was like he knew me, like he had been watching me for years. My mind screamed at me to get away, but my body refused to listen. I couldn't move. The air around the car grew cold, and the rain seemed to intensify, hitting the roof like 1,000 tiny hammers. The whispers returned, louder now, filling my ears with a maddening static. The bridge groaned, the wooden planks creaking under the pressure. It felt like the whole structure was alive, moving beneath me. I looked up again, and the figure was still there, now closer. His face almost touching the glass. His smile widened, and he whispered, "You're not alone on this bridge, Tom." Suddenly, the fogged-up window cleared. I saw behind the figure, a second one, then a third. They emerged from the darkness, walking toward my car. They were all the same, pale, with glowing eyes, dragging their legs as if they were all crippled in some way. They moved in unison, their eyes never leaving me. I snapped out of my trance. I threw the car into drive and floored the gas pedal. The car jerked forward, but the tires spun in place, and the engine roared to life. I looked back. There were more of them, now surrounding the car. I couldn't see their faces anymore, just those glowing eyes. They were getting closer, closing in on me, and I could hear the whispers growing louder, too loud. With a sudden burst of adrenaline, I yanked the steering wheel, swerving the car off the bridge. The tires screeched, and I felt the car slip, the road slick with rain. I drove straight through the forest, not looking back, not daring to look at the bridge. I didn't stop until I was miles away, parked by the side of the road, drenched in sweat and trembling uncontrollably. The storm had passed, the rain easing into a soft drizzle. But the terror stayed with me. I still don't know who they were, or why they wanted me on that bridge. But I can't shake the feeling that they're still out there, waiting for someone else to cross. And next time, it might be too late. It was supposed to be just another night. I was Mark Grayson, a simple guy, just a regular worker heading home after a 10-hour shift in the city. It was midnight, and the rain had started to pour heavily when I took that unfamiliar exit. I was lost, honestly, but I needed to get home. The GPS on my phone had died out in the middle of nowhere. I had no signal, no map. Just a dark road ahead and the promise of my own home, somewhere miles away. But as I drove further, something felt off. The air grew thick. It wasn't just rain. It felt like the earth itself was holding its breath. The road twisted around hills, snaking into the unknown. I wasn't paying much attention when I came across a faded sign that read, Hollow Hill. I didn't remember this place from any of my drives before. My headlights illuminated the path ahead, but the night swallowed the road quickly, as if the darkness itself was alive. I passed what seemed like old houses, abandoned, some broken down, others just dark silhouettes in the rain. But then, I saw something that froze me. There, at the edge of the hill, was an old cemetery. I swear it wasn't there before. Something about it didn't sit right. I felt a cold chill creep down my spine, but I ignored it. I was tired, frustrated, and desperate to get home. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me, that something was moving in the shadows of that cemetery. I kept driving. The path led me to a creaky old bridge, even older than the one I had seen in the city. It seemed to stretch over a deep ravine, and the wooden beams groaned under the weight of the rain. I drove over it, but as soon as I was halfway across, the car stalled. The lights flickered once, twice, and went out completely. Suddenly, I heard it. The sound of footsteps, slow, deliberate, on the bridge behind me. My heart skipped a beat. I was alone. There was no one else around. I turned around, but there was nothing. No one. The footsteps stopped, and for a moment, there was just silence. Then, a cold whisper cut through the air. "Mark, help me." I nearly jumped out of my seat. I was about to unlock the door when I saw her. A woman, pale, drenched in rain, stood just at the edge of the bridge, staring at me with wide, dark eyes. Her long, wet hair hung in tangled knots, and her clothes were torn, clinging to her body like she had been out here for days. Her mouth moved again. "Help me, Mark." I froze. I didn't know her. I'd never seen her in my life. But her eyes, they were so hauntingly familiar. Then I saw something that made my blood turn to ice. From the corner of my eye, a figure moved, a man. Tall, thin, with long arms, watching from the other side of the ravine. His face was hidden by the shadows, but I could feel his gaze burning into me. And that's when I understood. She wasn't asking for help. Her eyes, those empty eyes, were pleading for me to get away before it was too late. But it was already too late. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. My mind raced, trying to understand what I was seeing. The woman's eyes, they were pleading, desperate. It wasn't just a request for help. It was a warning. Before I could react, I heard it, the sound of scraping. Something heavy dragging across the wooden planks of the bridge. Slowly, I turned to my rearview mirror, barely able to look. A dark figure was moving toward me, dragging something along the ground. It was him, the man from the other side. I could barely make him out, tall, thin, distorted. His body seemed to bend unnaturally, like he was being pulled from some other realm, a place that wasn't meant to be seen by human eyes. His face, when the rain parted just enough, was a twisted mask of bone, flesh stretched too thin, eyes hollow and wide. His mouth, wide open, was filled with sharp, jagged teeth that glinted in the faint light. I had to get out of there, but before I could start the car, the woman stepped forward, her feet moving unnaturally, like she was floating rather than walking. "Mark, please leave now." I tried to start the engine. Nothing. It was dead. Again, the man behind me was closer now, his long arms reaching out toward me, his fingers stretching in ways they shouldn't. My breath caught in my throat, and my hands were slick with sweat, the steering wheel slick and slippery beneath my grip. I tried to shift the car into gear, but it was too late. The woman's voice broke through the silence again, soft but urgent. "He will take you, Mark. You can't run." I glanced at her once more, and in that moment, I realized she wasn't trying to save me. She was trying to warn me. This was no ordinary haunting. The man wasn't human. The woman was a warning, and her eyes told me everything. She had tried to run, but she couldn't escape him. Now he was coming for me. My heart pounded in my chest as I looked back out the windshield. The man was almost on top of me now, moving so quickly for someone so thin. His mouth was wide open, stretching, and for a moment, I thought he was going to swallow me whole. But before he could reach me, the bridge creaked, louder than ever, and the rain began to fall harder. A deep rumbling sound echoed beneath the wooden planks, and suddenly, the ground beneath me shifted. The man stopped. I heard a terrible, inhuman sound, a growl, low and guttural, coming from below the bridge. The air grew colder, biting into my skin, freezing me to the core. The rain fell harder, as though the heavens themselves were trying to drown the nightmare I was trapped in. In an instant, the woman's figure began to fade, slowly, her form becoming more translucent until she was nothing but a whisper in the wind. The man, though, didn't move. He just stood there, staring at me with those glowing eyes. I knew what I had to do. I had to leave. Now, without thinking, I threw the car into gear. The engine roared to life, sputtering at first, and then, with a loud screech, the tires finally gripped the slick bridge. I floored the gas pedal, the car launching forward. The bridge seemed endless, stretching beyond the horizon, and the man was still following, now just a silhouette in my rearview mirror. But then, I looked ahead. A figure appeared at the far end of the bridge. Another one. This one, just as tall, just as twisted. The moment I saw him, I knew. There was no escape. I hit the gas harder, the tires spinning, the engine screaming. My hands gripped the wheel, knuckles white as the car raced down the bridge. But the more I pressed the pedal, the farther the end of the bridge seemed to get. It was as though the bridge was never-ending, stretching, pulling me deeper into the nightmare. Just as I thought I couldn't go any further, I heard it. The growl again, closer, much closer this time. It wasn't just one growl. It was dozens, all coming from beneath the bridge. I glanced down. The shadows underneath the bridge seemed to move, to shift, like something was crawling out. I couldn't stop. I wouldn't stop. The bridge collapsed. It happened in an instant. The wooden plank snapped, the beams broke, and the car plunged down into the darkness. My screams were drowned out by the deafening roar of the fall. The world turned upside down as the car crashed, slamming against something hard. And then, silence. I woke up, lying on the side of the road, the rain pouring down around me. The car gone. The bridge gone. I was alone, cold, shaken, and soaked to the bone. I looked around, expecting to see the hill, the cemetery, the twisted figures. But there was nothing, just rain, and the eerie quiet of the night. But deep down, I knew I wasn't alone. They were still out there, waiting, and they would come for me again.